WLFE-DB Radio has LGBTQ shows like Across the Pond, Rainbow Soul, Everything Yet Nothing, and Inside the Drag Closet. Check out the schedule on WLFE-DB.com. You can even watch them on TV at WLFE-DB.com under LGBTQ Friends, right off our website. Again, it's WLFE-DB.com for your LGBTQ shows and more.
WLFE-DB.com, where talk radio is a whole lot better. Our shows are your shows, and that there makes for a great talk radio.
Tune in to Kaleidoscope Eyes with your host, Transman Lacrosse Ortiz. Every week, we will be touching topics within the LGBTQIA plus community. We will also be having interviews with individuals within the community and allies. Journey with us as we share in their struggles and triumphs every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Welcome to Rainbow Soul, part of the WLFE-DB network, an explorative discussion about spirituality beyond mainstream religions. Hollis Taylor, author, psychic, astrologer, and alchemical mage, brings their non-binary perspective together with fellow drag king and trans man Lacrosse Ortiz, a Jewish Taino with spiritual background of exploration that has led him to an atheist perspective. Join these guys as they explore deep and difficult topics, all related to spirituality, offering a queer perspective and exploration of interesting topics and engaging guests to help explore conversations for the Rainbow Soul.
Hey, welcome back, Lacrosse.
I made
reached
it.
through and give you a big hug and tell you welcome back.
I need it. Thank you.
Welcome back. I know Eric is even saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
Lacrosse."
Hi.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yes,
And we're so glad you're here. So welcome to Rainbow Soul, everyone. I'm Hollis Taylor. I'm an author, a psychic, and a general queer weirdo. And, you can check out my book. It's called Divine Androgyny, A Sacred Path for Gender Variant People. So, Lacrosse, tell us who you are.
My name is Lacrosse Ortiz. I am a Jewish Taino atheist. I believe in spirituality without a supreme being being a part of it. And glad to be back. Glad to be back. Made it.
We're glad you're back. We are.
Yeah.
Look, even Eric is glad you're back.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
They love you.
Oh.
And I'm just going to say that, stuff happens sometimes to all of us. And, we missed you last week. And I'm sorry that, you had a little accident. Well, maybe it's not as little. You can tell them what happened.
Yeah, my car was totaled. I got hit by like a SUV, and it totaled my car. Ended up with a concussion, whiplash, and I've been sick. So it's been a week. So just trying to get my bearings and try not to let it ruin things for me. So
yeah. I hope you're taking care of yourself.
Oh, yeah. I've been napping a lot, sleeping. I think the concussion just makes you really fatigued and, being sick on top of it. I'm really fatigued and tired, but every day a little bit better. So that's the main thing.
Well, look, everybody missed you. Welcome back.
Hi, Sandy.
Says welcome back. And Tamala is glad you're back and okay.
Oh, thank you.
And, Eric was glad that you're okay.
Yeah.
I think we're all relieved that you're okay. Because we love you and we care about you. And that's the way it is. So we've got people that care.
I know. That's a beautiful feeling. I mean, so many people reached out, and it was such a blessing with so many people just reaching out and the kindness. It was a good feeling. It still is a good feeling.
Yeah, it's important. It's important to feel that way. And you know what? That's important. It's really important because that leads us to our topic today, which is so weird and unusual, but that we're going to actually talk about self-love today. Because I was kind of like, wow, lacrosse is going to come back on self-love.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you were wondering if the universe was trying to send you some messages, I'm glad you're listening because here they are. So anyone that's listening today, just know that you have some stuff to probably harvest from this show today about self-love. I don't know any other most powerful tool ever in all of my healing, everything I've been through, guys. Like, I've been through crap. Like, my childhood was a pure hell. You can read it in my book. My adulthood, I got pregnant at 17. If it was bad, it's happened to me, okay? And yeah, there's people that have had worse stories, but I had a pretty bad story. I have a pretty rough story. I think you can catch it on Lacrosse's show. You can catch some of it. And the one thing that if I was to say there's one thing that helped me heal, I'd have to say self-love.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about self-love was that when I started to harvest it, everything else just seemed to work out. My codependent behaviors started to pull back, and I didn't have as many of those. And I noticed that I was a little bit more selective about the people in my bubble and in my circle. I was also more compassionate for others, and even compassionate for people, even was able to accept the love from others. So many things just started erupting out of it. So I don't know. Have you ever explored self-love like this, Lacrosse? Have you ever found it so healing?
Absolutely. One of the biggest things with me is I call it self-preservation, self-love. When I decided to start loving myself and preserving myself, I realized my reaction to things weren't like they used to be, like taking everything personal and taking everything like, oh, or shaming myself. Oh, maybe I deserve that. Even like with what happened this week, like with the accident, I was just like, at first I was like, man, this sucks. This is terrible. Like, and then no, you're not going to do this to yourself. You're not going to sit there and blame yourself for something you had no control over. And even with, shaming myself with feeling sick. Oh, I got to provide for my family. I got to do this. I'm not worthy or this. And that self-love kicked in, and giving myself that compassion and that kindness that I saw everybody else giving me. And I think that's a key thing, is that I realized as much as we give to everybody else, we have to be willing to give ourselves just as much. So yeah, no, that's been a big, big thing with me.
Yeah, it's huge. So I thought, if we're going to be talking about healing our souls and getting our souls better, in a better place, especially if we've experienced trauma or some other crap, then we need to be talking about self-love. And I looked through my list and I was like, whoa, I forgot Karina Fireheart. Whoa. So I found this person on my list that's actually a friend through my partner, and she is actually a really awesome self-love coach. No. So I was like, well, hopefully she could be on my show. So let's bring Karina out. Karina, come on out. Welcome to Rainbow Soul.
Hi. It's nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
So I'm a dual certified health and life coach, and I came to self-love and self-care through my own healing journey. And it is my mission and my passion to help others learn to care for themselves, to love themselves the way that they care for others or love others, provide them with the same care, love, and attention to yourself as you do to everyone else. And I have worked with a lot of people who are overgiving. So I work with overgivers who struggle with exhaustion and lack of time. And I help them to learn to care for themselves the way that they care for others so they can live a happier, healthier life. So they can live their life in alignment with their values so that when they are giving their love to other people, that they're doing so from that place of empowerment, fully resourced, so that they're giving from not the cup, but they give from the saucer. So if you have a cup and you're giving from your cup, you're taking away from what it is that you need. So I encourage people to give from the overflow. That's the surplus. It's what collects in your saucer. And so that is my mission and my passion. And I'm so happy to be here having this conversation with the two of you and with your viewers.
Oh, that's beautiful, Karina. I love the saucer reference. I haven't heard that one yet. I've heard spoons and things like that.
Yeah.
But what a great analogy of the saucer overflowing. Yeah, what a great, wow. And I almost want to now go back to, was just having a self-love conversation with my daughter-in-law just the other day. And I want to like take that back to her right away, because she's definitely dealing with that part of her. Well, look at this. The community welcomes you. Eric is saying hi, Karina. And I think you know Bright Hawk. Great to see you, Karina. She's here.
Hi,
She's
Bright
watching
Hawk.
the show. Yeah. And Andrea is loving your analogy. And yeah, it looks like they're already loving you. And I think that self-love, like the magic power of self-love. And I think that's like almost like sometimes people are like, think I'm exaggerating, and I'm like, no, really, it will, if you just learn to love yourself, you don't focus on anything else of your other stuff. Like those be like, well, I self-sabotage and I do this and I do that. And they have this whole list of things that they do. And I'm like, no, really, just focus on self-love. Just focus on loving yourself. Man, everything else transforms. Is that true for you too? Have you found that, Karina?
Absolutely. And I was listening to as you were sharing, and I completely agree with you that as I was, I wasn't always in this position of being able and capable of loving myself. I learned how to do that from being in a really dark place. And being in a relationship where it was a codependent relationship and where I had been giving so much of myself and I was doing so much for others that I lost myself. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I needed. I didn't know what I wanted. And when I broke away from that relationship, the realization was, if you don't learn to love yourself and care for yourself, you're going to die. Because you are literally exhausting all of your resources for other people. And if you don't learn this critical skill, you are going to die. And that moment was the turning point for me. It was literally like somebody smacked me on the back of my head, like, wake up. If you like, your survival is dependent on your ability to love you and care for yourself. And so that is when the healing took place. That is when the possibility of healing opened up for me. And as I became brave enough to dare to accept myself, I started to see the unfolding and the healing was possible. And as that started to happen, yes, everything else fell into place. Every area of my life was affected by focusing on myself and my needs first. Not that I wasn't doing it for other people, but I needed to make sure that I was getting what I needed first. It really is that overused cliche of putting the oxygen mask on yourself first. But if you do not put the oxygen mask on yourself and you are dead, you cannot help anybody. That is the hard reality. So,
and one of the places that I've seen some people really do this, and I know lacrosse, you can totally identify with this, is parents. Our children are born, and even like I was mentioning, my daughter-in-law, she has 2 kids, and I'm like, as soon as kids come in the picture, parents abandon themselves, and I'm like, oh, don't do that. Your kid needs you to take care of you so that you can be a better parent. Because I feel like as a parent, if you don't do something for you and everything is about the kids, you're going to burn out. And the next thing you know, you're in tears and you can't even be present for your child. And I know I myself have done it. I did it. My son's now 27. Have you done that, lacrosse?
Absolutely. I literally devoted, when I had my first, I literally devoted my life to my children. Everything I did, everything I ate, everything I breathed, everything I did. And then when I finally came to the point where I had to disconnect that, in the sense I had to, once again, mom's not okay, nobody's okay. That ended up becoming my motto. And it was a shift for them, because then they thought I was becoming selfish, because they were so accustomed to me doing everything when they wanted it, or not just doing everything for them, and it took them a few years to adjust. I think they're used to it now, but it took them a few years. And you know what? They're not, that's the one thing, kids are resilient, so they will adapt. And when they start realizing, that's the example you're setting for them, that they have to realize they're their own priority for their own sanity, for their own well-being in their mind and their heart and spirit. You got to set it by example, so that's.
Yeah, I totally relate to that, lacrosse. Like, as I started to wake up and take care of myself, my son also thought I was being selfish at first, but by the time he was a young adult, and I started traveling a lot, he did some sort of work and let it go, and was kind of like, oh, well, at least my mom is now like out doing what they really want to do. Right. And wow, they wrote a book, and now they're traveling the country in a van. That's awesome. So he built out my van to make it so it's livable. I thought that was a pretty awesome gift. And supportive, in a way of being supportive. And when we had a conversation, a real intense, deep conversation about it, adult to adult at that point, he was like, actually, Mom, I'm just glad you're doing what you want to do. I think, I'm really proud of you, actually.
Yeah, they come around.
Yeah, they kind of grow up a little bit. Yeah. So I want to just give you hope. If you're a parent out there and you're listening to this right now, just know that the more you take care of yourself, you're actually serving as a role model for your kid. Your kid can hopefully learn from you. Karina, I'm sure you probably coach some parents, right?
Yes. And, I wanted to say that one of the things that my pediatrician, when my first son was born, as a new mom, feeling like, okay, where's the user's manual for this little being? Tell me all the things I should do so I don't mess them up. And she said to me, the most important thing that you can do is to take care of yourself. I chose to nurse. And she said, when your baby is crying, yes, you're going to change his diaper, you're going to feed him, you're going to do all those things. But before you do those things, I want you to go to the bathroom. I want you to get yourself a cup of juice. I want you to get your nursing area ready for you to go. Then you can go to him. You're not hurting him. He's going to be okay. But you have to take care of yourself first before you can take care of your child. So that's one of the things that I like to share with parents who are new parents. And you both have already sort of touched on it, is that The best thing that we can do for our children is to model what we want for them, how we want for them to be in their life. And unfortunately, society does have this misconception about self-care or self-love being selfish. And it's not selfish. It's necessary and it's critical, because if we don't care for ourselves, then our health will fail and we will be very unhappy. And as a parent, I don't want my children to be looking at me saying, oh, yes, the way to behave in the world is to give, and don't ever take care of yourself, because that's not healthy. And so as a parent, as difficult as that may be to say no to our kids, we want to make sure that we're not saying no to ourselves. And it's, it is that perception of, if I say yes to myself, I'm saying no to somebody else, and that makes me selfish. That makes me a bad person. And in reality, it does not. And it shows your children that you are the most important person in your life. You are the relationship that you're going to have the longest in your life. From birth to death, you are your longest relationship. And especially as a parent, to be able to show your children what a healthy life and a happy life look like. And the best way to do that is to be a role model, to model what you would like for your children.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to just say, in case you were wondering, I needed to hear that as a mom of 3 boys.
Aww.
So there are parents out there, and I know they're out there. And, it's definitely a thing. Of course, it comes in other faces as well. So I want to talk about, like, what does self-love, what does it look like? Like, how can you identify if you're doing it? Because there was a time where I was like, am I giving myself enough self-love? Like, what? And it took me a little while to figure out, what does it look like? So, Karina, can you help us, like, draw a picture of what does it look like if you're giving yourself self-love?
Sure. So a couple things for me is that you are doing the necessary things for you to be healthy. So making sure that you're drinking enough water, making sure that you're eating enough food, making sure that you're getting enough sleep, making sure that you're getting enough fresh air and sunshine. So there's some very simple sort of basic things that often get cut out, where people are eating in their car, or they're sort of eating and doing 7 other things at the same time because they're so busy. So those are kind of like those basics, as simple as they may sound, really have a huge impact on our health, our well-being, and our happiness. So that's sort of like that first layer. And then I look at it that there's sort of a middle layer, which is the way that we talk to ourselves. That, are we speaking to ourselves the way that we would speak to a child, or to our best friend, or to a family member? Or are we talking to ourselves, like that, the negative self-talk of, oh, stupid, or, oh, I can't believe you did that. You're such a loser. Those kinds of things that you're not loving on yourself. You're beating yourself up. You're berating yourself. So the thoughts that we think, that inner dialogue, the conversation that we have with ourselves and about ourselves. So it's to be mindful of that. And I always ask myself, would I say this to my best friend? Would I use the language that I'm using with my best friend? Would I not give my best friend healthy food? Like sort of looking at my relationship with myself as that of my best friend. And kind of that deeper level, that deeper layer is can I accept myself for who I am? Can I accept myself, all the faults and all of the good things, my weaknesses and my strengths? And am I willing to wrap my arms around myself and say, you are perfectly imperfect, Karina, and I love you because of that. I love you because there's nobody else on this planet who is you. There's nobody who's like you, and you're perfectly imperfect. And so some questions, or some like taking inventory and doing a little bit of self-inquiry, is to ask yourself a couple of simple questions. And I think the first one is, am I treating myself the way I would treat my best friend or a small child? And if the answer is no, then there's probably lots of room for improvement around giving yourself some love. The second one is, am I beating myself up for who I am and the way that I was created? Or am I embracing myself and I see myself as a creation of the divine? So am I talking badly about this divine creation? Or am I embracing the way that I was created? Because if there's nobody else on the planet who is like me and I am one of a kind, then I'm pretty special. So, I think those are probably a couple things that are good places to look to find out whether you are on the right track, or maybe whether you need to do a little bit more exploration into the way that you care for yourself. And I think self-love and self-care they go like this. They really are intertwined.
Yeah, I guess I see them as almost the same thing, I guess.
Yeah. And if I love someone, I don't love them conditionally. I only love you when you're making me happy, but if you make a mistake, I don't love you anymore. And so that's like the same thing, right? To turn that back on myself and be like, well, of course I make mistakes. I'm a human being.
Yeah, exactly.
And I certainly don't want this to sound like it's an easy thing, because I'm standing here after many, many years of self-exploration and discovery and trying and failing and falling down and then beating myself up. And, other people would say bad things about me and I'd agree with them. Yeah, you're right. I'm a horrible person. So yes. I don't want to have it sound like I've watered it all down, because it's not necessarily an easy thing. But the first step really is around awareness. If you can look at how you spend your time, with whom you spend your time, how often you spend that time, and just really start to get a sort of like lay of the land, if you will, of your life and the people that are in it and how you're spending your time. That's really a good key, because if you realize that you don't ever spend any time on yourself, that it's time for you to wrap your arms around yourself and say, I got you.
I so appreciate what you're saying there, Karina. Like, I think, first of all, self-talk is like, I even say that sometimes to people that I care about. If I hear that their self-talk is a little, I'll say, would you say that to me? And they're usually like, no. And I'm like, please don't say it to yourself.
Well, I'll often say, please don't talk about somebody I love like that. It offends me when you're talking about somebody I love right now, and I don't appreciate it.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
And they go, oh, what? Wait, what did you just say? And I'm like, you are talking smack about somebody that I love and care about. And I don't like, that's not cool.
It's not cool.
And they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know I was talking about myself like that. But I really like what you just said. Would you talk to me like that? And they're like, well, of course, no, I wouldn't.
Right. And of course they wouldn't. Yeah. They're like, no way, right? You know, like your spouse, your partner, even your kids, you know, like if you hear them or somebody else, you know, that you care about, a good friend or something like that. And I thought that this was also interesting. Terry Cricket says, a great book is when I say no, I feel guilty. And that is another sign, I will say, that there might be something going on with self-care or your shadow work, because I also like the way Eric was saying, so shadow work and self-care kind of go hand in hand. And I would say yes, Eric, especially like if you say no to something and then you feel guilty about it, you might need to look at why you're feeling guilty about it. And I know that there's some of us that have strong placements in astrology, because now astrology defines that each one of us are uniquely, perfectly imperfect. We were made perfectly in the reflection of the stars, and you are perfectly challenged in what you're supposed to be challenged. And some of us have some strong placements that create that energy that as soon as we say no, we feel a little guilty. And I happen to know that Cricket has this placement. I think you might have it too, Lacrosse. And it's like, and I have it, and you feel it, but I think it's what you do with that guilt that is most important, because you may feel the guilt at first, and then I go, but I'm just trying to take care of myself here. I got to take care of myself. I have to put myself first. This is really important that I say no here, that this boundary is here. And you might want to check in or sleep on it or whatever. And sometimes I sleep on it because, you know, dreams. But yeah, so I think there's a lot of different signs. Lacrosse, I know you've probably dealt with some of this. I know that I've heard you even talk about sometimes with us.
Oh yeah, like I would say like a lot of struggle would be, like you said, the guilt, like the shame of saying no, or just like the bad talk. Like I know I'm guilty of it. I've done it, you know, where I'm just like, oh man, moron, you know. It sucks that I do that, but then there is this other side to that, which I can say is I'm a very sarcastic nature. So I'm only joking when I'm saying it, but then I don't realize the power of the words. So even though I'm only joking or being sarcastic, you know, like I'll trip and I'm like, geez, Princess Grace, you know, but you know what I'm saying? But, you know, so it's hard to start taking that inventory and accountability on your speech, you know, because it'd be easy. This is 50 years of doing that. And that's where, like, I appreciate you saying this isn't anywhere you get to overnight. This is constant inventory, constant awareness. You know, it's not easy.
And Lacrosse, you know, if I may interject for a moment, I'm hearing you say that you're sarcastic in nature and that you're joking.
Yeah.
But there's a part of you that doesn't know that you're joking. Mm-hmm. Part of you hears that and inventories that. And stores it. And if somebody has ever said that to you, then it's going, there's the confirmation. Mm-hmm. There's the confirmation. And you're joking. You know, I mean, we all do like kind of the same thing. You know, I trip over it. I was a professional dancer. I'm like, you're graceful, you know. But just sort of like to interject that there's a part of us that doesn't understand maybe where that's coming from, and it just hears what you said and sort of takes it in there. And
I was actually floored at the power of our words. I started a practice when I lived in Pennsylvania, Lacrosse. where I started to tell myself that I was an androgynous being. And I wasn't really sure what that meant, really, even at the time. But I continued to do it because I was feeling misgendered a lot. You know how Pennsylvania can be. It can be a little oppressive for gender variant people. It's hard to, especially in Central PA. It's particularly oppressive, and I couldn't express myself at work. I was actually being demoted because I was a drag king, and some stuff was going on that I couldn't really prove. And I know you guys can, some of you that are gender variant can definitely identify with this feeling. So I was trying to like affirm myself, right? And so I started telling myself, I am an androgynous being. I know who I am, and I'm an androgynous being. And I just kept saying this to myself every single day. I'd look in the mirror, say this to myself. I'd pray. I'd say this to myself. I wrote it around. It was all over my computer screen, and I would write about it and stuff. And can you believe, after a couple of years of this, my body decided to join my mind? That's how powerful your words are.
Yeah.
That's how powerful they are. My body said, oh, you're an androgynous being? Well, then I guess you don't need your monthly cycle anymore. Let me stop that for you. And I started going through what is known as perimenopause and menopause. But that's what happened. I feel like that's what triggered it. Like, it probably wouldn't have happened as young as it did if I hadn't been telling my body and myself that I was an androgynous being.
Right.
Every day, several times a day. So the power of your words to yourself, like, I'm floored at the power of the words to yourself. Like, I couldn't believe it. And I didn't even know that perimenopause would lead me to feeling androgynous. And now I live in Colorado, and it doesn't feel so oppressive. So, and that's why I moved, because I felt oppressed. And I had to manifest a different life for myself. And that was the other affirmation that I was using, which is, I will travel, I will travel, I will travel. And within a year, I was traveling in a van all over the United States. And I've seen most of the states. So, if you ever wonder if the words mean anything, boy, do they mean stuff.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It totally knocked me off my feet. Karina, I'm sure you've done affirmations of some sort that manifest in your life where you're like, whoa.
Absolutely. And, there's this interesting thing that when you do an affirmation, even if you don't believe what you're saying at the beginning, the saying it and the hearing it, and it's the repetition of the saying it and hearing it, Hollis, like you experienced every day, several times a day, what starts to happen is, especially when you are doing it in the, stating it in the presence, so I am, and that you're saying that you already have it. I already have it now. That's the part of manifesting, right? Is that you've got your intention and you're saying it as if you already have it now in this moment. Is that what starts to happen is you are stating to the universe that this is true. And the universe goes, yes.
That is true.
This is what you state. Therefore, it is true. So the universe goes, oh, you live near the beach? That was my dream, right? To live near the beach. And I now live near the beach. And it did not happen in any way, shape, or form that I thought it was going to happen in. But every day I say to Bob, we live here. We live here. And we were at the beach yesterday and we were at the beach today. And it's 8 miles from where we live. But it's because I was saying, I'm going to live at the beach. I'm going to live at the beach over and over and over again. And I saw it so clearly in my mind's eye that the universe was like, oh, you're going to go live at the beach. Here, let me help you. Let me help you go live at the beach. And so it's kind of that same thing around self-love, right? If you say, this is sort of a tricky example, but I'm going to throw it out there and see if it lands or sticks in any way. But if you say that I am beautiful, right? I have a beautiful heart. I have a beautiful soul. I create beauty in the world. People look at you and they go, something's different about you. Did you get your hair cut? And you're like, no. You're glowing. There's just something, I don't know what it is, but there's just something about you. It's because you are stepping into being beautiful, and that you create beauty, that you have a beautiful heart, you have a beautiful spirit, and that you are spreading beauty wherever you go. And people see it. And people experience it. And when they're around you, they experience it. And that's one of the things that a lot of people said to me when so I'm from Pennsylvania. I don't know if you remember that, Hollis. I'm from Eastern Pennsylvania.
Good for
and and I left when I was 18 to go to Harrisburg, so middle Pennsylvania. And then when I left Pennsylvania, I promised myself I would never go back. And I've been back several times since then. But when I left, right? And I went back to Pennsylvania, went back and moved in with my parents in Pennsylvania. And so many people who hadn't seen me in 20 some years said, oh my gosh, are you okay? And everybody said that they could see darkness behind my eyes, that I lost my light, and that I looked like like darkness was in me. And that is when I said, if you do not figure out how to do this, you're going to die. It was like literally the life was draining out of me. So fast forward, being in Pennsylvania, being there for a little while, and people hadn't seen me. I saw them like 3 or 6 months later, and they're like, oh my gosh, you look amazing. You're like, you look bright. Your eyes are light. You just look like you're glowing. And I didn't realize that that spirit, that spark of love, when you tend to something, you tend to your garden, right, or a plant, and you love it and you care for it and you look at it, and it's so beautiful and so healthy and vibrant. And so that was what was happening to me, is that I started to get that light back. And it was through the affirmations. It was through the, you are deserving of love. You are deserving of love. You are deserving of love. And somewhere in there, I think that maybe I didn't believe that I deserved the same love, care, and attention that everybody else around me was getting from me, right? So it is the power of those words, and it is the affirmation that puts you in a position of having power over your own being, where you take the control of your own life back by, and you said before, Hollis, boundaries. When I say no to you and you get angry and I feel guilty, hi, that's me. I finally realized that it's because I had leaky boundaries. And my leaky boundaries were letting people guilt me into saying yes because it's what they wanted me to do. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want them to be mad at me. I don't want them to be upset. Oh, I'm running on fumes, but I have to do it. And I just learned how to be able to say, thank you very much. I would love to come to your party, but I can't do it right now. Or I'd love to help you, but I'm having some of my own physical issues and I can't do it. If I'm feeling better in a couple of days, I'll give you a call. And if you still need help, maybe I can help you. But, you know, so there's a couple, it's multifaceted, right?
Yeah.
You have to feel like you deserve to be loved and get it from yourself and not feel guilty about saying no to other people so that you can care for yourself. It doesn't matter what it is, managing your energy, your mental capacity, your physical capacity. You just had a rough day and you feel like going home and not being around anyone. That's totally valid. And nobody should be allowed to say to you, oh, come on, I helped you. You owe me. Nobody should be able to say that to you. It doesn't matter who it is. You know, and it used to get me really angry that people would be angry with me for saying no to them.
And I find that has a lot to do with mental health, that codependence, as we're referring to, which is often the fear of saying no or feeling guilty about saying no, it has a flip side, and sometimes the flip side is narcissism. So if you have recently found yourself in the influence of narcissism, you might want to take a look at your self-love, because one of the keys that keeps codependence and narcissism going is the lack of self-confidence, the insecurity. And so, like Bright Hawk is saying, in a land of narcissism, so just by the way, the United States and a lot of the world suffers for at least some narcissistic traits. And not everybody's a narcissist, but a lot of people suffer from sort of levels of it. And it comes from a lack of self-confidence. And I agree. And the interesting thing about that is that we, you know, if we don't work on our own self-confidence, then the mental health beyond that is like a domino effect. And yeah, you might attract narcissistic personalities because they can then, not that they're doing it consciously either, because they're not. They're actually super insecure too. So by the way, the at the core of narcissism is a lack of self-love. It's insecurity. That's where it comes from. That's why they're sick. That's why they manipulate and do everything they do. So if you're one of those people out there that's like, gosh, I have all these narcissists in my life, stop everything you're doing and work on your self-love, and those people will start to disappear. They won't be able to exist in your life if you're addressing your own self-love.
And that's what happened to me, Hollis.
Yeah,
is that I was attracting narcissists, and so it was, you know, being involved in relationships with narcissists, in a codependent relationship that worked really well for them because I was an overgiver, a people pleaser, and it was the perfect storm. And one day I heard very clearly what the solution was, and that was exactly what you are talking about. And that is the self-love. That is turning everything this way and giving it to yourself. And you're right. They cannot exist. They cannot exist around you they can't, because you don't play the part that they need you to play anymore.
Right.
And like
they usually
you said,
get mad at me.
Whether
they get mad at me and go away.
Whether it's, you know, I had somebody tell me that I was evil and that I was destroying everybody's life.
Okay.
And I was like, wait, what?
That's a lot of work. Like that takes a lot of work to go and destroy everybody's life. I mean,
I said, I know I'm powerful, but I didn't know I was that powerful. So, but it's
wow. I wanted to address Eve's question because I feel like it's important. Are Capricorns prone to that? So, Eve, what I want to say is that no, they're not. But you may have other placements in your chart that make this available to you. And I'm a professional astrologer, and I just so happen to have looked at Lacrosse's chart for him. And one of the things about astrology that I would highly recommend for people is that it helps you realize that those parts of you that aren't so pretty, that maybe you don't like, are actually perfectly imperfect. They're placed there on purpose, and it gives you an intention and a purpose. And although they may be challenging for you, and it doesn't mean that all Capricorns are not selfish or whatever this is. This is what you've said here is what I would call bubblegum astrology. It lasts about as long as a piece of bubblegum and goes about that deep. And you throw it out when you're done. So real astrology is when we look at your whole chart and we say, wow, Eve, you have this and this and this and this, and all of these things together make you perfectly unique. These are your challenges and these are your strengths. That's astrology. And that's what I do. I offer people astrology coaching that helps you realize that you're perfectly imperfect, just the way you are. So don't give yourself a hard time about being a Capricorn. Just wanted to address that.
It's interesting because we're talking about that you start setting these boundaries. Like I ended a 20-year marriage with a narcissist, and that ended up being this big blow up for them because they were so accustomed to having this lifestyle, me being the codependent that I had given. And when you and that's what ends up happening. That person believed I was the devil and I was trying to ruin their life and I was trying to destroy everything. And I'm just like, because I'm destroying your whole image and this image isn't help. I can't keep up with this of what you need me to do, and when you start setting those boundaries up, especially when you suffer from codependency, it's hard to set up those boundaries because I don't know if codependency goes hand in hand with against self-love, because it just, there's just no way you can be codependent and have self-love. It's just almost impossible in my eyes.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And that's hard to sit there and look, you're 4 kids in 20 years marriage and saying, no, enough is enough. And I love myself more than this situation. And sometimes it is hard decisions like that you have to make to sacrifice for self-love.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I've had to walk away. And one of the things that I've noticed that is the biggest difference since I went through some really intense self-transformational self-love work where I was really focused on self-love for a long time, for several years, like before that versus after that. And before that, I would allow narcissistic people to come into my life. I'd welcome them. Frankly, I'd do tons of things for them. I'd love them up. And now I actually gave myself a hard time about this at first. I started to go slower. I was like, wait a minute. Let's take this relationship one step at a time. Because I don't know if we're going to go that far. And I'm not just talking about romantic relationships. Right. I'm talking about especially spiritual relationships, because I was in a cult. And the cult was run by narcissists and sociopaths, okay? And so when I left and then went into a new spiritual situation, I had a period of time in there that I did all this intense yoga, self-love stuff for years. And I did drag, which also requires, as you know, Lacrosse, that requires some self-love there. And then I stepped back into the spiritual community. And this particular community, I was like, I don't know. We need to go slow. Yeah. And we did. And I did. I went slow. I gave a little bit, but then I started seeing some red flags. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. I'm not sure I want to give anymore because there's some things happening here. And I started drawing lines.
Yeah.
And I noticed the center of that cult. He suddenly didn't like me very much anymore. He suddenly didn't want me at his event so much.
Yeah.
And he suddenly was a little resistant to me and was a little, he even tried to boost me up with what I call fake compliments and tried to feed my ego. But my ego went, I don't really give a shit what you say or think. And that's the difference. Because if you're codependent, you need that feed of compliments or whatever it is.
Or you need to be needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you need that.
And it's acceptance and approval, right? Validation. Right. You're getting validation, external validation.
Yeah, and I no longer needed that.
Yeah, you didn't.
So I didn't give a shit what he cared.
Right.
What he thought
it didn't work. It didn't work.
It didn't work. And then he was like, then he was really confused.
And he was like, wait a minute. This is supposed to work. Why isn't this working?
Why is this working?
My wife dies laughing because it's like when I'm in a situation like that, first on, I'm like, pump the brakes. I'm like, and then she knows me. And they'll be like feeding me. And she starts laughing because I'm like, I know. It could sound a little conceited, but it's like when you see that and you've been too familiar because you've walked with that hand in hand for so many years, you see that narcissist. Nothing, I think, gets that narcissist under their skin when you're not feeding them and you're just like, I know. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I know. They can't stand it. Because I always say, leave them hungry. I'm not going to feed them.
Yeah,
because they ate at my table one too many times. And you know what? My buffet is for me. I need to keep my buffet here. You could bring to the buffet, but don't come take it. It kind of gets.
I love that.
I think that's pretty much what happens when you start.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and I think it sounds like for all three of us, we were forced. I left a marriage and a religious cult, a spiritual pagan cult. I left a cult and a marriage. Now I went into another narcissistic marriage, but it was a little less than the first one. And it was just different though in the end. And the thing is that I had to walk away, and then I started to go, I think I need to work on myself here. Something's not right. And then I started to work on me. And then the more I worked on me, the more the people on the outside changed. Literally. Yeah. Like, people left my life because they didn't like me anymore. Which I was like, why? Because I don't service you anymore. Right. That's what it felt like. Yeah. And I think, Karina, that's exactly what you were talking about, is like, you overgive. And then new people came into my life that were like, wow, like, even my partner now, she's like, gosh, you're so good at boundaries. Yes. I just watch you. And then I'm like, oh. And she and other people learn from me, and they want to be near me because I have clear, healthy boundaries, and I know where they are, and I can even speak them without getting mad if you cross them. I can be like, because I call it out way before. So if you find yourself, somebody's crossing your boundary and you find yourself so angry, you need to say something way before. Back up, and say it before you get mad. And that's what I've found to be more effective in boundary work, is that as soon as they cross it, I go, I'm probably not going to be crazy about that. I'd rather you not do that. That doesn't really work for me. I need you to be more like this. So if, and I've had people get really upset because I set that boundary, like really upset, like explode on me. And then I'm like, the reason I'm telling you boundaries is because I care about our relationship.
Yes.
If I didn't care about our relationship, I wouldn't bother to say anything.
Right.
So that should show you that I care. And how would you know that I need you to use they, them for me? Like, for instance, that's a boundary for me. I need you to use they, them. And if you don't, eventually I can't trust you. If you can't change your language for me, I'm sorry, that might be hard for you, and I need you to do it for my well-being. And I can't have you in my circle if you can't respect that. And that's my boundary. And that's self-love. So all you gender variant people out there listening, that's your boundary. If you are bothered by being misgendered, make that your boundary. And as soon as they misgender you, stop them. Don't wait until you're ready to cry. Don't wait until you're ready to throw something at them. You've waited too long.
Yeah.
Say something right away. Because you'll nip it in the bud. And then you can decide if, like my partner says, what orbit they're in. Are they out there in Pluto? Keep them out there in Pluto because they can't respect your pronouns. If they can respect your pronouns, maybe you can let them in as close as Mars and Venus and maybe even the moon. So, that's self-love, in my opinion. It's vital, especially for gender variant people.
Something to that?
Yeah, please do.
So the other component of boundaries is to let the person know, if you don't respect my pronouns, this is what is going to happen. So that they know ahead of time what the consequences are for not respecting your boundaries. And if they choose to continue to not respect your boundaries and your pronouns, and you say, I'm sorry, we can't be friends anymore, they already know what's going to come. And sometimes I think people do that as a way to make you be the person to cut things off. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, they want you to be the one that call the boundary.
They want you to be the person. And so, it's clear, healthy boundaries, and holding them and speaking them are great. But if people don't understand what the consequences are for not respecting your boundaries, it's sort of a piece that's missing, because they're like, oh, well, maybe you'll just keep forgiving. But if you say, no, if you keep doing this, I cannot be your friend. End of story. Like, clear, like, we're done. Because this is really important to me. These are my pronouns, and this is important. This is who I am. And if you can't accept who I am and respect me, then we can't be friends. And if they know that up front and they continue to do it over and over again, they've already identified for you what kind of person they are, and you don't want them in your life,
Right. Mm-hmm. I've definitely had to do that, my friends. I've had a friend that was even part of Fire Circle community, and she just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And after a few times, I said, I really need you to change that. And if you can't change it, I can't trust you. So then I can't have you in my circle. So then, I'm going to have to put you in a different orbit. And she got what I was saying when I said, what I meant by that is that I can't have you in my bubble. And she didn't change. And I didn't make a big drama about it. I just stopped talking to her. And I just stopped associating with her. I stopped making myself available for her. She talked to me. I just kind of like, okay. And I didn't give her much time, and I just walked away. And that worked out for me, because I knew that I just needed her out there on Pluto, because otherwise, if she got too close, I didn't invite her to my campsite. I didn't invite her to in my bubble. I just didn't. And that worked out.
And that is self-love. That is respecting yourself and loving yourself and what you need and what you want, and holding that for yourself. because this other person couldn't hold it for you. So you have to hold it for yourself. And,
yeah,
you know,
I think we all probably go through that.
You really are the only person that, I mean, this sets people off sometimes when I say this. So I'll put that out there. You really are the only person that you can count on 100% of the time.
I believe that. Mm-hmm. That's very true for me. And I know this is vibing for everybody out there. We are even reaching Transylvania.
Ooh.
Wow. So even Transylvania is getting these messages, and, you know, everybody's enjoying it and everybody is taking it in. But we're about to take a little break. So I just want to say that when we come back, we're going to do hopefully a dream interpretation. And I'm putting it in the chat right now. Interpreted. Okay, so you have the few minutes that it takes us to take a little commercial break to get your dream up in the chat so that Lacrosse can do a little dream interpretation. For now, we're going to take a little commercial break. Go get your drink, go to the bathroom, do what you got to do, and get your dream up in the chat for us. All right, guys, we'll be back in just a few minutes.
WLFE Digital Broadcast Network is on TV. You can watch all of our shows on WLFE-DB.com. Check out our channels: Paranormal View for all of your paranormal type shows, LGBTQ Friends for all of our LGBTQ shows, Variety Unlimited for all other shows. It runs 24/7 right on WLFE-DB.com. You'll even catch the lives, all in one place. Never miss an episode, past or future. WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows. Search for your favorite shows like Where's My Sage, Inside the Drag Closet, Across the Pond, Everything Yet Nothing, Paratalk Radio, Step into the Paranormal, The Creepy Parlor, Just Cindy, and more. Now you won't miss an episode. Remember, follow Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Make sure you subscribe and follow your favorite WLFE-DB radio shows. You can find our shows where you listen to your favorite podcasts, like Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and more. WLFE-DB Radio is looking for podcasts to join our family. You don't have to fit any strict genre. We're a plethora of shows. If you're looking to jump on a growing network, then contact us at WLFEDBradio@gmail.com.
Wow, Amazon Music just got a whole lot better. Your favorite shows from WLFE-DB Radio can now be found there. Yes, we are on Amazon Music, found under podcasts. Download the app, Find podcasts and search all of your favorite shows. Shows like Where's My Sage? Across the Pond, Everything Yet Nothing, Skeptical Help Bar, The Creepy Parlor, Just Cindy, and much more. Now you don't have to miss an episode ever. Amazon Music is WLFE-DB Radiofied.
Hey, I'm Hollis Taylor, and I'm a non-binary person, and I call myself a divine androgen. Be like saying that you're a monk or a practitioner of magic or something like that. Maybe it depends on what path you walk. See, one of the things I noticed as I started to come out and started to identify as non-binary, I started to realize that there was no spiritual path for people like me. There were some things like indigenous people, but I don't want to culturally appropriate. I didn't grow up on a reservation. And I think Two-Spirit is great, and I want them to keep it. And I felt like I had to define my own path, because I didn't have a huge background in these things. And so I started to explore things. And, of course, some religions shame us, right? And then there's some religions that don't even include us, like Wicca. I went to many rituals, and never, not once, did they mention someone that was both or neither gender or god or goddess. Unless you asked, and then they would often have a goddess or something. But there was no language for it. And so as I started my own spiritual path, my own path of holistic learning, I learned that I really needed a spiritual path in order to be who I was. I felt like it was part of humanity. It was part of being a human. And I needed to be celebrated in my spiritual path. I needed to be seen, and I didn't want any of the shame. So that's not for me. That's theirs. And so as I started to unfold, I started to realize that I had my own path, and each one of us actually do. You do. Everybody does. Has their own spiritual path that they're to unlock. Your authenticity is in your heart, just like it was in mine. There were some things I had to go through to unlock those keys, to get closer to who I really was inside. Because all of us are divine conscious beings, and you have to work through some weird stuff sometimes, like cultural norms and gender roles and, gosh, mental health and the crap your parents programmed in there. Sometimes we have to unfold that out. And when we do, we get to an authentic person when we move through those surface things. And when we find our authenticity, we can go deeper. We can love deeper. We can love ourselves deeper. We can love other people deeper. And we can enjoy our life fuller and more, and feel more complete by the time it comes time to, end, because we all die. None of us get out of alive. So just consider, as you start to identify and find your gender is not something that was given, that is not something that was assigned to you when you were born. As you start to realize your gender expression, no matter what it is, I'm talking to the drag queens, the drag kings, the gay guys, transgender people, non-binary people, gender-neutral people, all of us, we're all here for a reason. The divine sent us here. We're all here to define our own path. Make it what it is. Follow that part of you that doesn't follow the rules. The part of you that doesn't do what other people are doing. Because that part of you will lead you to the path you need to be on. And you will manifest the beautiful things that the world desperately needs. All of us are where we need you. We need you to step up and bring your most beautiful light to the world. And I hope that that's what this book does. That my book, Divine Androgen, A Sacred Path for Gender Variant People, and this channel will inspire you to find out who you are and open it up to the world and deliver it as if we were all waiting for it. But we didn't know what we were waiting for exactly. Show us what that is. Welcome back. I'm so glad you're back. Girl, did you see that intense dream in the chat?
Yes, I did.
Wow,
I did. That's very intense.
So let's first read it so that anyone just listening to the show can hear. I've been having a reoccurring dream that may just be anxiety or could be warning of some sort. The elevator at school is directly across the hallway from a ballistic glass window, which has a metal structure between the pane areas. But I keep dreaming that my power wheelchair, which has been having mechanical issues but was repaired on Monday, lost control and went through the glass with me, crashed into the floor of the first story. Had the dream several nights this week, and today my chair started acting up exactly as it had been before repaired while I was walking my service dog. When we crossed the railroad tracks, I had a flash of that dream, so I had my caregiver call my spouse so we would not have to cross over the tracks again. There's all on it. Ooh.
Yeah, that's...
What you got for Eve there?
Well, breaking it down, like, I mean, this is your mode of transportation. This is your livelihood. And for it to not be working, and it's so funny that this dream comes up because I want to kind of counteract to my accident. When I had first bought that car, when we had first got that car, literally as soon as I got in the car, I had this terrifying feeling that I was going to end up in an accident and that this car was going to be the car that I ended up in an accident. And sure enough, and we only had the car a couple of months, okay, like maybe 3-4 months. And sure enough, I ended up in an accident. And I'm not one who's like believes in like the gloom and doom or prophetic or anything like that, but your gut is your gut. And it may be anxiety. It may not, because this is your livelihood. This is probably one of the most important things you need. So it's anxiety, yes, but it also could be a warning. This is something that you have to make sure that when they fix it properly. It has to be done right because you rely on it so heavily. You know, this isn't anything. So yes, it's anxiety, but no, it is a warning. I mean, things like this, there is nothing worse than feeling helpless, feeling immobile, feeling like you can't, you know, and it's not just the wheelchair is just significant of what it's going to do entirely to your life if you don't have it. So I think you should take it as a warning. I think you should make sure that it's fixed properly, correct. Make sure they dot the I's, cross the T's, and let them see how serious this is for you because this is your livelihood. I mean, that's what I'm getting from it. So, and I just, like I said, it just kind of coincide because I wish I would have listened to my gut when I first got the car because maybe I would have been a little more cautious, but shoulda, woulda, coulda. Don't wait until it gets you in a position where you could end up immobile or, God forbid, hurt or anything, you know. So I would definitely take that dream as a warning and look into it deeper.
Mm-hmm. And the only thing that I get on that is I get the same thing as you did, Lacrosse, really. Is maybe take it to a different mechanic, Eve.
Yeah.
A whole different mechanic. Just, you know, I did that to my van because I kept having this feeling like it might break down or something. And I didn't want to get stranded. So I just took it to one Ford dealership and they said one thing and then I took it to a different one and I got better results actually.
Yeah.
So so that's number one. Number two though is Lacrosse, even if you could have changed your vehicle, do you think it would have avoided the accident? Maybe, maybe not. And sometimes I think that even though crappy shit happens, because definitely does. Like, I feel like your accident really sucks, Lacrosse. I'm not sure you could have avoided it. Eh?
Probably not.
And maybe there's something, and just because
Yeah.
just because one shitty thing happens,
Right.
sometimes it, like, here's the shitty, you're going along this road, shitty thing happens, you're up against the wall, you fall back, and that pauses you. But in the meantime, over here, this door opened.
Right.
And then you come back to, and you're ready to proceed again. You got your backbone back or whatever. This has all happened to us. And then we're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I could go that way.
Yeah.
And that other door probably would have never opened, or you would have zoomed past it because you were too busy, because the accident didn't happen.
Right.
And so sometimes even when bad shit happens, so if that did happen, Eve, I just want to say that if something does happen, and I know how important it is for your wheelchair to be functioning properly. I was a personal caregiver of people living in wheelchairs. And, but I had a friend that she started having a problem with her wheelchair, and we had all kinds of problems with it. And then eventually she sort of lost mobility for 2 days. But come to find out, when the mechanic, even though the mechanic had to rebuild the whole thing, and it took 2 days for her to get her mobility back, truly get it back, she had like a temporary crappy wheelchair that wasn't really helpful, as like a fill-in or whatever. She found out from the mechanic that had she not come off of it for 2 days while he repaired it and replaced the parts, her brakes might have failed at some point. So, Eve, I know you know how important that is. So you just never know what's going to happen. So, just take it one step at a time and maybe see a different mechanic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, maybe see a different mechanic. And I think you might be getting a little bit of a hit, Eve. And maybe also you might need to be careful about what you're doing. You're driving, Eve, like if you're not paying attention or whatever. So I just want to say that, because
and one thing to add, sometimes when you're mobile, you have no choice. I mean, immobile, you have no choice but to look at your circumstances. And that is one thing I did also get out of that. So maybe it's also telling you stop, listen, think, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much, Lacrosse, and thank you, Eve, for sharing your dream. It has to be really intense for that. I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that, Eve, of you sharing that with all of us. I'm sure there's other people that have had some similar experiences that may not be in a wheelchair. It could be something totally different, but the same. And so I just want to say that. And I also want to just honor this person. If you feel judged, Lucille, everyone's welcome here. I see you're sacred sensual healer. I celebrate you just the way you are, my friend from Transylvania. And, also respect other people's boundaries. Not everybody wants to talk about sex, and that's okay. But, so if you want to talk about sex, I'm sure there are some people that would love to talk about sex, regardless of what kind of body you're in, my friend. And then there's some people that don't, and that's okay. So we want to respect everybody's boundaries. We want everybody to feel comfortable here. And we love you just the way you are, my friend. And it's fine for you to be who you are. That's what Rainbow Soul is all about. And Eve is saying thank you. Thank you. It does help. Good. So just want to say that. And see, man, because our dreams, they definitely got some messages for us, eh? Definitely. And welcome, Dawn. Welcome to the show. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. We are talking about self-love. We are focused on how in the world can we manifest self-love. And we have a fantastic guest, a fantastic coach. And I want to say, I'm going to bring Karina Phoenix Fireheart back out. But I want to say one thing is that she has an excellent Facebook. Check out her Facebook. She has lives regularly. Come on out, Karina. She has regular lives that you can listen to and connect with her and work on your self-love. So if you're feeling like this is something I got to work on, check out her lives. How often do you do them, Karina, these lives?
I do them every Sunday afternoon. It's called Self-Care Sunday. And right now I'm working with a self-care card deck that I am basically shuffling the cards and just cutting them and doing a reading based on whatever card presents itself to us in that day. And it's looking at the deeper levels of self-care. Today we talked about silence and how that can be a part of self-care. But I do that every Sunday, and currently they're running anywhere from like 20 minutes or so. So they're real quick, very easy. And they are on my Facebook page if anybody wants to go check those out. The series that I'm working on right now, it's for 52 weeks. I'm going to be doing this series.
Wow. And I love these cards. Are they your cards, or are they cards that you can find online somewhere?
They're cards that you can find online. It's a card deck that's by Cheryl Richardson, and you can check out her her webpage at CherylRichardson.com.
So is it Cheryl like CH?
Correct. ERYL Richardson.com. And she's the creator of the deck. And their Hay House Publishers is the one who published the deck. But you can get them IndieBound, BAM, Amazon, I think.
I'm sure her website has it, right?
But CherylRichardson.com, and she's got a whole bunch of other things that are up there too. And different. There's a couple different artists that did the cards. And inside it shows you who they are and what galleries they're from and if you want prints of certain things. So I've been using this particular deck for myself and my own self-care probably since it was published. So like 20 some years. And often I'll just randomly center myself and pull one of those cards and ask, what do I need for myself most? And sort of use that as a way to set an intention for how I'm caring for myself. So.
Well, here's something that I think maybe a lot of you could relate to. You know, I'm working on like my health and stuff, and I've been through a lot of stuff around my heart condition, and I keep running up against this resistance to exercise, and I know it goes for a lot of people. Because everybody seems to be like, yeah, I have that problem. A lot of people are like, yeah, I have that problem. And it's not just exercise. It's like simple things like take my dog for a walk. And I don't have a bad story about it, except that sometimes it's a little hard for me to breathe when I exercise. It's part of my heart condition. I only get 50% of the oxygen that most people get. I only get 53%. And I've learned to like take my exercise slow anyway. So, you know, like I already take it slow. Like I'll just stop if I can't breathe well. Like air pollution and stuff like that will really screw with me. I'm one of those sensitive people. I'll just stop. So it's not like I'm not taking care of myself. It's not like the walk is bad, because it's not. It's actually kind of fun. Sometimes I have crows talk to me the whole time and I'm thinking about lacrosse. I'm like, wow, lacrosse, I feel like lacrosse is with me right now. Sometimes I'm looking at the mushrooms, and the flowers are beautiful up here in the Rocky Mountains right now. Because, it's been raining a lot, which is fascinating. Which is kind of unusual. And, and I have a partner and a dog, and my dog is, of course, excited to go for a walk at any time, right? He's like, oh, we're going for a walk. He thinks he heard it. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised to see him come running over here because I said walk. But for some reason, when it's time to walk, there are some days that I'm like, gotta go for a walk. It's like the last thing I want to do for some reason. And I'm sure other people probably relate to this, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I go to the gym and I'm just like, ugh. Like, no.
And it's not a bad experience when you go to the gym.
No, when I get there, like once I'm there and I'm engaging, I'm good. It's just the whole getting into the motivation of doing it. Like I'll have actually even full blown anxiety before I even go in there because I'm like, oh my God, there's so many people. They're all close. I mean, are they going to be near me? You know, it gets that bad. But then I'll just put my headphones on. Okay, just go on the treadmill. That's all you got to do. Just do the treadmill. We don't have to bench press anything today. So yeah, no, I go through the same thing.
I used to sit in the car in the parking lot of the gym and give myself a pep talk to actually get out of the car and go into the gym. Because the job that I had at the time, I was driving. So I was transporting kids to their after school activities. And so there was a gym next to the place where their activities were. So while they were doing that, I was at work, but while they were doing that, if it was 2 hours, I'm like, well, the gym's right there. It makes perfect sense. I can go work out. But I dropped them off and then I would go back to the van and I would sit there. And I'd be like, I don't want to go work out. And then I would be like, all right, just think about it. Just think about it. You're going to go in there and you're going to sweat and it's going to feel so good. And then when it comes time for them to take your fat percentage and you weigh and everything went in the right direction, you're going to feel really good that you went to work out every single time you said you were going to. And I'm like, I know, but do we have to do it today? Can I just wait till tomorrow?
Yeah, and it doesn't help that I also have like, I don't know, something wrong with my metabolism that makes it hard for me to lose weight. So I'll do all the right things, go to get on the scale, and it'll go up 2 pounds. And then I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? That happens to me a lot. I've lost 100 pounds, so it's just, I don't know. So I try not to base it on weight.
Right.
I try to base it instead on you'll feel better, or you'll at least know that you did the right thing when you do the weigh-in. If the weigh-in's screwed up, if it doesn't go in the right direction, you know that you did the right thing. And maybe you're just building muscle.
It's the non-scale victories that are the most important, right?
Yeah. So I'm just noticing it in myself. I'm able to get myself to the pool 3 times a week. No problem. I swim. I've gotten up to 20 laps in an hour. Not too bad. I love to swim though. Like that feels like, and that's why I do it, because it feels like the best thing that I could do. Like if you asked me, what do I want to do for fun? I'd be like, well, let's go swimming. You know? So I think that's part of it. So if you are exercising, find something you love to do. But there are other days that I just need to take my dog for a walk. And I need to take a walk every day. So it's good for my heart and good for my body. So, yeah. So if anyone has any tips, I'm happy to hear them. I like your pep talk idea, Karina. Just to kind of be like, okay, if you do this, you're going to feel good about your weigh-in. And you're going to feel good knowing you got your steps. You know, you met your steps goal. I have a steps goal that I try to fill. Yeah. And you'll be able to tell your doctor that you're doing this. You know, because that feels good to me, for me to be able to say to my doctor, I'm walking every day and swimming 3 times a week. You know,
which is awesome that you are doing that, you know. And
Thanks.
One of the things that that I've learned through becoming a coach is that we always pick the thing that feels better. So if not going to the gym and working out, like honestly and truly feels better to you, you're not going to do it. If like going to the gym, once I'm there, I'm like, I'm so glad I came. I don't know what my problem was. And lacrosse, I was the same way. I'd have anxiety about going into the gym. I don't even know what it was about for me. Yeah. I mean, I heard what you said, but for me, I don't even know what the source of the anxiety was. I don't know if it was like, you know, I can't lift as much weight as other people. I really don't know what it is, but a perfect example is somebody who goes running before they go to work. It's the choice between hitting the snooze button and sleeping, or actually getting out of bed and putting the sneakers on and going out of the house and going for the run. It's whatever feels the best is the one that you're going to choose. So it's creating certain things around. So Hollis will use taking Charlie for a walk as an example. You know, you create little things around taking that walk that feel really good for you, that make you look forward to doing the walk, that make you want to go for the walk.
I do the retail salesman to myself. You know, I sell it to myself. That's the only way I'm going to get in there. Look, you know what? Those jeans are going to look really good on you if you get in there. If you really push this, you're going to look great. You're not bad for 53, you know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I retail sales myself.
That's funny.
Because I buy my own. I'll be like, oh, yeah. You know what? I will look good. Okay. So I believe.
I love that. You buy your own.
I buy my own.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I just feel like it must be a struggle for everyone I talk to. It's just, you know, and I don't always know, because I've lived with this heart condition my whole life, and most of my life I didn't know. I've only known about it for a year. So all the times that I had a hard time walking up a hill, all the times that I couldn't keep up with my friends, all of that. And here's the other part about self-love is I was giving myself a really hard time. Before I was relieved in 2020, I thought I'm not fit. I'm not strong enough to run or do these exercises with other people or climb mountains, and I'm not strong enough. I'll never be strong enough. I'm not. My self-talk was terrible, and I would give myself a really hard time about not being fit. And then for the doctor to say, well, you only get 53% of the amount of oxygen that most people get, to realize that no matter how hard I work, no matter what happens, I will always be struggling to get air. And so when you're giving yourself a hard time, and you're finding that self-talk, and I know earlier we said, you know, ask yourself, would I say this to my best friend? But also try to give yourself a break. Like, I just needed to give myself a break, because I was cracking the whip on me, and because I wasn't comfortable with my weight gain. And my weight gain was both coming from hormone fluctuations, perimenopause, but it was also coming from a lack of being able to exercise because my heart had gotten worse. So it probably gone from, you know, maybe 60 or 70% oxygen down to 53, because when your hormones fluctuate, so does your muscles. Your muscles change the way they're shaped. And so my heart changed, and that's what happened. And although I can gain fitness at this level, just know that there could be something underneath that you don't know about, that you're unaware of. And it doesn't mean that you're lesser than because you can't do what other people do. And I think that's what happens in the gym, is that we walk in and we compare ourselves to other people. And I used to do that. I remember when I lived in Baltimore, I used to go to the pool and be like, I'll never be able to swim as good as them. And I give myself a hard time because I can't breathe, right? Because if you're swimming, you can't breathe. And I already get half the oxygen. But of course, back then, I didn't know that. Now I just do the backstroke. So, because I give myself a break, right? And you just don't know what other people are going through. So even if you see that person that's on the treadmill, man, and they're booking it and they're running and they've been running for an hour, you don't know what they're dealing with upstairs. Yeah. Maybe somebody's dying in their life. Maybe something's really traumatic driving them to run that way. And you're trying to get yourself in a similar situation. Oh, yeah. So, like, I just try to remember that everybody's on their own journey.
Yeah.
I say that.
Look at that. I'm at the gym. I'm like, look, I'm never going to be that meathead. All right. I'm never going to be that real big diesel type. Okay. I'm short and I'm okay with it. I'm little and I'm okay with it. And I'll just go on my treadmill. It's that same mercy, you know, because like you're saying, like we'll give somebody else mercy, but we won't give it to ourselves. Like if somebody else is sitting there going through a struggle, oh man, no, take it easy. You know, don't do that to yourself. And for us, it'd be like, oh, pull that weight now. Mm-mm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So give yourself mercy on yourself.
Yeah. We call that compare and despair.
Yeah.
When you compare yourself to somebody else and then you go into despair about how you are not enough. And you don't know what other people are dealing with. You don't know what's driving them. You don't know. And we don't always know what's going on with us.
Yeah.
You know, you could have something that you're not aware of, that, like Hollis. You know, you didn't know what was going on, and you had all of those, convincing yourself of not enoughness in lots of different ways when there was a really good reason as to why you weren't able to do the things that you were doing that had absolutely nothing to do with you not being enough.
Right. It was the way I was made. It's an inherited heart condition from my father. And so it's almost like, and I like to make the joke that I have a big heart. So we were made perfectly perfect, even our so-called flaws.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced they're flaws. So I try not to say that my heart is messed up. I say that my heart is misshapen or unusually shaped or big. It's a big heart. And it's true. I do have a really big heart for other people. I want to give them lots of love and stuff like that. But, I have to take care of me. And so I just want to say, my friends, that you just let everybody be on their own journey. Because everybody's on their own journey. Even if you happen to be walking beside them in this time. Karina, do you have anything else to share with us before we end with the tarot reading?
I think that it's really important to give ourselves compassion. It's really easy for us to be compassionate toward other people and not so very easy to be compassionate to ourselves and to cut ourselves some slack, give ourselves a break. And when you are able to hold yourself in the space of compassion within your heart for, as I say, being perfectly imperfect, then it allows you space for love to grow. And when the love grows inside of you, then you can share it with other people. And so to hold yourself with a compassionate heart and to remind yourself that you are deserving of love, and that you are deserving of the same love, care, and attention that everybody else is, and that you are beautiful, and that you are deserving.
And I think you're so deserving of joining Karina every Sunday afternoon on her live. I'm serious, because those lives help you do something good for yourself, right? So all I'm suggesting is that every Sunday afternoon, maybe before you come to Rainbow Soul, you go check out what Karina's got going on. And you just take that hour, 20 minutes to listen and a little extra time to do something for yourself. Do something for yourself today. I think even when you're finished watching today on Rainbow Soul, go do something special for yourself. Even if it's just go look in the mirror and say, I love you. Whatever it is. I think that's beautiful. Thank you, Karina, for
Thank you
being here
so
today.
much for having me here today. It was such a delight to join both of you. Lacrosse, it's wonderful meeting you.
Same.
And thank you again for the opportunity to talk about self-love.
Yes.
And helping to shift the way that self-love and self-care is perceived out in the world, and helping people to understand that it is very important. So thank you very much. I'm sending both of you so much love coming at you. And to everyone who's watching, I'm sending you so much love.
Well, before we go into the tarot reading, Sandy, great show tonight. I really learned a lot. Thank you, Karina. That's very
you're welcome,
sweet.
Sandy.
And Andrea says it's beautiful. Vasile is sending roses and love. And I'm about to do a tarot reading. Love is love. And that's the deck that I'm working with tonight. And I want to let you guys know that this deck is a collaborative deck. Each one of these cards is done by a different LGBTQIA artist. And these cards I've been shuffling while I was listening to Karina's final thoughts and thinking about our show today. And I just want to say this reading is for you. This reading is for anyone listening to this now. Or anyone watching the recording later, or whether you've listened to it. Doesn't matter how you've listened to it now. If there's parts of it that vibe for you, please take those things to heart. Listen to those things and harvest those things. If there's some things that don't vibe for you, don't worry about it. It's probably meant for somebody else. Just leave it be. Take what you like and leave the rest. And I'm laying out 3 cards for the past and the present and the future. And what a delightful set of cards today. Totally new cards to me, because this deck is fairly new to me, although I've been reading tarot for 25 years. So this is the 3 of Wands. Wands is all about it's all about how we hold ourselves and how we do things in the world. Okay, and it is definitely about thoughts and feelings and how those are attached. And if you take a look at this card, this person has the wands wrapped up in these beautiful little birdies. Do you see the little birds there? They're winged little birds. And it kind of looks like almost like a nest, and in a way. But when you look really closely, you realize that it almost kind of looks like a hand or something that's holding the nest. But you have to kind of look real close at it. And it's the 3 of Wands. You see it down there? And it's a really intense little card, because it's actually about the deepest thoughts and feelings you have about yourself, and about the world around you and your world, like your nest, literally your home, and how that feels to you. So I want you to pay attention to those thoughts and feelings, and especially if they've crossed your mind in the last couple of weeks. You've been like, I need to get rid of stuff. I got too much stuff, or I need to do something about that. Pay attention to that. Listen to that. Those little messages about that, whatever's been going on for you, listen to that. That's what this card is. It's a reminder for that. And this card, man, what a special card this one is. This is the Star. And you can see this beautiful being is like a mermaid, right? And they're reaching for the light. And that is the right now. And this is the right now to remind you to reach for the light, that the messages that you heard in today's show and anything else that you might harvest in the next day or so, reach for the light, the positive things, listen to those things, because they're leading you into the light, into the star being that you are, because you are a star being. We all are star beings. So welcome to the light. And that's kind of what this card is. It's saying, welcome to the light. You're tuning in. It's the right channel. So congratulations. That's kind of what this is. This is congratulating you and saying, good job. You're tuning into the right channel. And in the future, it's the wheel of fortune, because you know what happens when you tune yourself into the right channel. I think we kind of talked about this. The more you love yourself, wow, things just suddenly got better. Huh. And that's exactly what this is about. This is about things getting better. If you can see there's the pair of heels up on the table, and that's meant to represent that performing feeling, that feeling of being your absolute best self. And then over here with a community of support, the game of life, right? And you got down here, you got like sort of a party atmosphere going on, and you got the fires of transformation here. And that's what this is all about. These three cards are meant to indicate to you what's happening in your life right now. And in fact, that the light, right, that the light that you're reaching for right now is to lead you to the fortune of your future, the wheel of fortune, which is definitely on its way, especially if you're reaching for the light and paying attention to those deep thoughts, those little things that cross your mind and go, maybe I need to take better care of my health, or maybe I need to pay more attention to how I'm eating, or whatever it is, whatever's been popping up, pay attention to that, because it's telling you you're tuning into the right channel. You're here, aren't you? And you're listening. So you must be tuning into the right channel. And here it is. It's the wheel of fortune, because that's where you're headed. That's where you're headed, my friend. If you just take the time to love yourself and harvest and pay attention to those deep feelings, they're real. They mean something. There's a reason you're thinking it. And that's what this is all about. So I just want to say, take what you like, leave the rest, and know that exactly what was said is meant for you. And I want to thank you, Lacrosse, for being part of Rainbow Soul. I so appreciate you. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
your perspective. I appreciate everything you got. And I don't even know if you've seen this comment, but Dawn said, Lacrosse has been a great inspiration in self-care. I've been so proud of him in the last 2 years. He's come a long way and has taught so many things to others in his experience in his life.
Oh, thank you.
So, Cross, take that in. Take that in, because that's beautiful. And if people notice that, that's fantastic. And I think that's awesome. And I want to say thank you, Lacrosse. Thank you, Karina, for being here tonight. And thank you to Eve. Thank you for watching the show. Thank you, Andrea. We appreciate you. We're so glad you came to watch. And thank you, Sandy, such a loyal listener. I appreciate you all. And thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're so glad you're here, all of you. We appreciate you coming. We appreciate you watching the show. We appreciate you bringing your comments, your dreams, or whatever might be popping up for you. We hope to see you next week on Rainbow Soul, Sunday nights, 5 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Bring your questions. Be ready to ask some questions, my friends. For now, signing off. Good night.
Thank you for watching Rainbow Soul, part of the WLFE DB Network. A queer perspective on spirituality beyond religion. We appreciate you sharing the show on your timeline. Follow us on social media of your choice and join our Facebook group, Rainbow Soul. We want to hear from you. Share your topic ideas for Hollis and Lacrosse. Explore upcoming shows and interesting guests. The Rainbow Soul Facebook group, where we build community of questioning seekers. Rainbow Soul, where spirituality is our medicine.
Tune in to Kaleidoscope Eyes with your host, Transman Lacrosse Ortiz. Every week, we will be touching topics within the LGBTQIA plus community. We will also be having interviews with individuals within the community and allies. Journey with us as we share in their struggles and triumphs every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Oh, yeah. Life just got sweeter now that WLFE-DB has merchandise. Show your support by purchasing your t-shirts for WLFE, Paratalk Radio, Inside the Drag Closet, and more. But it doesn't stop there. T-shirts, coffee mugs, tanks, buttons, cloth bags, and more. Go to WLFE-DB.com. On the top bar, click on the merchandise tab and bam! There you go. You got merch. Support the shows. WLFE-DB.com.